In the name of the compassionate, the merciful me, beloved seekers of truth, I stand before you not as a teacher who possesses knowledge, but as a mirror that reflects the divine light. For what am I but a vessel through which the Eternal illuminates itself? Tonight, I speak to you about Hikmat al-Ishraq, the wisdom of illumination, that sacred philosophy which reveals that all existence is nothing but gradations of light and shadow, manifestations of the one true reality. When we speak of light, dear friends, we do not speak merely of that which enters the eye. No, we speak of something far more profound. Light is the very essence of being itself. God, al-Nur, the light, is not illuminated by another light, but is the source from which all illumination flows. He is light upon light, as our blessed Quran declares. Just as the sun makes all colors visible yet remains colorless itself, the divine light makes all existence manifest while remaining beyond all manifestation. Consider this: when you light a candle in a dark room, what happens? The darkness does not go anywhere, it simply ceases to be in the presence of light. This is the relationship between existence and non-existence, between the real and the ephemeral. We are not separate from the divine light. We are aware that light has chosen to shine itself into being. Between the world of pure light, the realm of absolute spiritual reality, and the world of dense matter, there exists what I have come to understand as al-Mithal, the imaginal world. This is not imagination as you know it, not mere fantasy, but a real ontological realm where spirits take form and forms become spiritualized. It is the barzakh, the isthmus between two oceans, one of pure light, one of manifest creation. In this realm, meanings become visible, and visible things reveal their inner meanings. The prophets journeyed through this realm. The saints dwell in it while awake. It is where the light of knowledge meets the darkness of ignorance, and in that meeting, wisdom is born. And who, you might ask, can fully perceive this light? Who can stand in the presence of such illumination without being consumed or blinded? It is al-Insan, al-Kamil, the perfect human. This is not perfection as the world understands it, not moral superiority or intellectual prowess alone. The perfect human is one who has become a complete mirror of all divine names and attributes. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was this perfect mirror. In him, the light of lights found its most complete human reflection. But each of us carries the potential for this reflection. Each of us is a letter in the divine book, a word in the cosmic speech. When we polish the rust of ego from the mirror of our hearts, when we remove the veils of self-centered consciousness, we too can reflect this light. Now I must speak of something that many have misunderstood about my teachings. When I speak of Wahdat al-Wujud, the unity of being, I do not say that creation is God, or that God is identical with creation. Rather, I say that there is only one reality, and all that exists is a manifestation of that reality at different levels of intensity, like light refracting through countless prisms. Think of the ocean and its waves. Each wave appears distinct. This wave crashes on Monday, that wave on Tuesday. This one is large, that one small. Yet every wave is nothing but ocean. It has no existence apart from the ocean. Remove the ocean, and where is the wave? Similarly, we are waves in the ocean of divine being. Our individual existence is real? Yes, but it is real only because the real is making itself known through us. How then do we walk the path toward this illumination? Through fana and back annihilation and subsistence. We must die before we die. We must let the illusory self, the self that believes it is separate from God, dissolve in the ocean of divine light. This is not physical death, but the death of the ego, the death of the illusion of separation. When this false self dies, what remains? Everything, but now you see it as it truly is, as light upon light. The same world that once appeared as a veil between you and God now becomes a window through which you witness Him. The same desires that once chained you now become instruments of divine love. Every atom becomes a mosque, every breath a prayer, every moment an eternity in the presence. Here is a secret, my friends. The more you know, the more you realize you do not know. The greatest scholars of outer knowledge may be blind to inner light. A simple shepherd who knows his own nothingness before God's vastness possesses more wisdom than 1,000 philosophers who think they have grasped reality with their intellects. True knowledge is not accumulation, but illumination. It is not something you acquire, it is something that acquires you. It descends as light descends, filling whatever space is open to receive it. Make yourself empty, and you will be filled. Make yourself dark, and you will be illuminated. Make yourself nothing, and you will become everything. How then shall we live, knowing what we now know, with tremendous love and tremendous responsibility? If all is light, then we must treat all of creation with reverence. The person who harms another harms himself, for there is no other. The person who loves creation loves the Creator, for creation is where the Creator reveals himself. Practice add sacred courtesy with all beings. The mosquito that buzzes in your ear is praising God in a way you cannot. The stone beneath your feet is prostrating in a way you have not yet learned. Every created thing is a scripture, and the one who can read it finds God's names written in every leaf, every raindrop, every human face. Dear friends, I have traveled from Spain to Arabia, from Mecca to Damascus, and in all my journeys, I have discovered this. Wherever you turn, there is the face of God. The light you seek is not distant, it is closer to you than your jugular vein. You are already living in the ocean of divine presence. You need only open your eyes to see it. Do not wait for death to meet your beloved. Meet him now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this very moment of illumination. For the one who dies before dying never dies. The one who sees light in everything is never lost in darkness. May the light of lights illuminate your hearts. May you become lamps through which others find their way. May you realize that you are never separate from the light you sought, and God knows best, and to Him we return. In the darkness of ignorance, we stumble. In the brilliance of divine light, we transcend. Tonight, we journey through the mystical philosophy that transformed Islamic thought forever, where light becomes not merely what we see, but how we understand the very nature of existence itself. God is all newer, the light, not a light among lights, but the source from which all illumination and existence flow. And when we contemplate this reality, we must understand that divine light is not something physical that travels through space or reflects off surfaces, but rather it represents the very essence of being itself, the fundamental reality that gives existence to all things. And just as the sun illuminates everything in the world yet remains distinct from what it illuminates, the divine light brings all creation into existence while remaining transcendent and beyond all created things. And this light operates at infinite levels of manifestation, from the most subtle spiritual realities to the densest forms of matter, each level reflecting the divine presence according to its capacity and receptivity. And what we call darkness is not an opposing force to light, but simply the absence or diminishment of illumination, having no independent existence of its own, which teaches us that evil and ignorance are not substances in themselves, but rather the absence of good and knowledge. And when we understand that everything we perceive, every atom, every star, every thought, every emotion is nothing but divine light manifesting at different degrees of intensity and clarity, we begin to see the world not as a collection of separate objects, but as a unified field of luminous presence, where even the stone beneath our feet is a condensed form of that same light that illuminates the highest heavens. And the Quran confirms this when it declares that God is the light of the heavens and the earth, His light being like a niche within, which is a lamp, the lamp within glass, the glass as if it were a pearlescent star. And this metaphor reveals layers upon layers of meaning about how divine light manifests through various veils and degrees, becoming more or less apparent depending on the transparency of the medium through which it shines. And just as a prism refracts white light into countless colors without the light itself changing in essence, the one divine reality refracts through the prism of creation into the infinite multiplicity of forms and phenomena that we experience. Yet the light remains one, unchanged, eternal. And when the mystic speaks of witnessing this light, they are not speaking metaphorically, but describing an actual spiritual perception that transcends ordinary sensory experience, a perception in which the very substance of existence reveals itself as luminous, transparent, and sacred. Al-Mithal, the imaginal world, represents one of the most profound discoveries in Islamic mysticism, for it reveals a realm of existence that is neither purely spiritual nor purely material, but occupies an ontological middle ground between the world of pure intelligible realities and the world of physical manifestation. And this realm is not imagination in the ordinary sense of mental fantasy or subjective projection, but rather it is an objective dimension of reality with its own laws, inhabitants, and modes of existence, where spiritual entities can take on forms perceptible to the inner eye and where physical forms can reveal their hidden spiritual meanings. And the prophets and mystics have always accessed this realm during their visions and spiritual ascensions. For when the Prophet Muhammad journeyed through the heavens during the night journey, he traversed through this imaginal realm where he encountered previous prophets in forms appropriate to that dimension of existence. And this realm is where angels, who are pure spiritual beings, can appear in human-like forms as they did to Mary and Abraham, because the imaginal world is the space where the formless takes on form and the formed reveals its formless essence, and it functions as a barzakh, an isthmus or boundary between to seize the sea of pure spirit above and the sea of corporeal matter below, and just as an isthmus both separates and connects to bodies of water, the imaginal realm both distinguishes and mediates between the spiritual and physical dimensions of existence. And within this realm, meanings become visible and visible things disclose their inner meanings, so that abstract concepts like love, beauty, or knowledge can appear as radiant lights, magnificent gardens, or living presences, while physical objects reveal the divine attributes and names that they manifest. And the mystic who develops the faculty of imaginal perception can navigate this realm while awake, witnessing the spiritual realities that underlie all physical phenomena and understanding how every created thing is connected to its archetypal reality in the divine knowledge. And this realm is also where souls exist between death and resurrection, experiencing rewards or punishments in forms that are real yet not material in the way physical objects are real. And the significance of this realm for spiritual practice cannot be overstated, because it teaches us that there are dimensions of reality beyond what our physical senses can detect, yet more concrete and objective than mere thoughts or fantasies. And accessing this realm requires purification of the heart, refinement of consciousness, and the development of spiritual senses that lie dormant in most people. Al-Kamil, the perfect human, represents the culmination of creation's purpose. For God created the cosmos, a means of knowing himself through countless manifestations of his names and attributes. Yet only in the perfect human do all these names and attributes find complete and harmonious expression in a single being. And while the physical universe manifests certain divine qualities, the vastness of space reflecting God's infinitude, the precision of natural laws reflecting his wisdom, the beauty of creation reflecting his beauty, no single aspect of creation except the perfect human can reflect the totality of divine names in perfect balance. And this is not about moral perfection in the ordinary sense, though moral excellence certainly forms part of this completeness, but rather it concerns ontological perfection, meaning the capacity to be a comprehensive mirror in which the divine contemplates all his attributes simultaneously. And the Prophet Muhammad represents the supreme example of this perfection, for in him the apparently opposite divine qualities, majesty and beauty, wrath and mercy, hiddenness and manifestation, found perfect equilibrium and expression. And he could be fierce as a lion in upholding truth, yet gentle as a mother with the weak and vulnerable. He could experience the heights of spiritual ecstasy, remain fully grounded in practical affairs of community and governance. He could fast for days in devotion, yet encourage moderation and ease for his followers. And this wholeness, this integration of all aspects of human potential in service to divine manifestation, defines the perfect human. And the crucial point that Ibn Arabi emphasizes is that this perfection is not exclusive to prophets, but represents the ultimate potential latent within every human being. For we are all created in the divine image, meaning we all possess the capacity to manifest divine attributes, though most of us manifest only a few of these attributes partially and imperfectly. And the spiritual path is precisely the process of polishing the mirror of the heart until it can reflect the divine light without distortion, removing the rust of ego, ignorance, and selfish desire that clouds our vision and limits our capacity to manifest the fullness of our divine potential. And when a person progresses on this path, they do not become God. Such a notion would be absurd, but rather they become a more perfect theater in which the divine names display themselves. Much as a perfectly clean and smooth mirror reflects the sun more completely than a tarnished or broken one, and the perfect human serves as the axis around which the cosmos turns, the heart that pumps spiritual vitality through the body of existence, and without such perfected beings, creation would lose its purpose and return to the nothingness from which it emerged. Wahdat, al-Wujud, unity of being, constitutes perhaps the most misunderstood yet most central teaching in Ibn Arabi's philosophy, for it does not claim that everything is literally identical to God in the way that pantheism suggests, nor does it deny the very real distinctions between creator and creation that Islamic theology carefully maintains, but rather it points to a profound metaphysical truth that there is only one reality that truly exists in the absolute sense, and everything else exists only as a manifestation, disclosure, or self-revelation of that singular reality. And to understand this, we must grasp the distinction between necessary existence and contingent existence. For God alone exists necessarily, meaning his existence depends on nothing outside himself. He simply is without cause or condition, while everything else exists contingently, meaning it has no existence of its own, but depends absolutely on God for every moment of its being. And contingent things do not possess existence in inherent quality, but rather receive existence, a continuously renewed gift from the divine source. Much as a wave appears to exist as a distinct entity yet has no reality apart from the ocean that gives rise to it. And if you could somehow remove the ocean from the wave would instantly vanish, because it never was anything other than ocean taking on a particular form for a particular moment. And similarly, if God withdrew his sustaining power from creation for even an instant, all existence would collapse into absolute nothingness, because created things have no independent reality to fall back on. And this understanding transforms how we see ourselves and the world around us, for we realize that we are not separate entities existing alongside God, but rather we are places where God manifests himself to himself. We are the forms through which the formless contemplates its infinite beauty, and each created thing manifests certain divine attributes more intensely than others. The lion manifests divine power, the rose manifests divine beauty, the ocean manifests divine vastness, yet only the perfect human manifests all attributes in harmonious completeness. And the mystic who realizes this unity does not lose their individual selfhood, but rather discovers their true self for the first time, understanding that their essence is nothing but divine light temporarily assuming a particular form with a particular name and function. And this realization brings both ultimate humility and ultimate dignity. For on one hand, we recognize that we are absolutely nothing in ourselves, having no reality or power or knowledge except what God grants us moment by moment. Yet on the other hand, we recognize that we are manifestations of the infinite, expressions of the eternal, and nothing less than the means by which God knows and loves and reveals himself. And the practical implication of this teaching is profound, for when you truly understand that there is no reality but the one reality manifesting through infinite forms, you cannot harm another being without harming yourself. You cannot love God without loving his creation, and you cannot worship the Creator while despising the creation, because there is no other in the ultimate sense. There is only the one appearing as the many, the eternal playing in the theater of time, the infinite expressing itself through finite forms,